You there, buddy?
How are you doing? Oh,
I'm
we got
good.
sideways.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
That's better.
Doing well. You're looking good, my friend.
Thanks. You too, man. You too. You're gonna have to turn your volume off. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, we're good.
All set? Good. Yes, how are things in Southern California?
They're good, man. Hold on. They either go maybe. Okay. They're good. Just sitting indoors, doing tons of video and Zooms, and man, my brain's fried right now.
I know. We're doing kind of the same. So going through a lot of different things just to kind of get ourselves prepared for the season, whatever that might be when we start. So
that's got to be interesting.
Doing a lot of
guys, that's got to be hard for you guys because it's just you don't know when it's going to start. You have no timeline, so it's just keeping them ready. It could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months. It doesn't. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part. You're trying to plan and prepare for something that you don't know when it's going to happen. You have no idea, what a schedule might potentially look like. Is it a full schedule? Is it a partial schedule? So it's just kind of a waiting game. But everybody's in the same boat, so it's not like we're alone in it. So that's a good thing. So, but we'll just be ready and prepared for whatever that day happens, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later, and we can get back to some form of normalcy. So, but
well, I miss it.
Looks like we're getting
it's hard not waking up. Go ahead. There's a delay, I think.
No. Go ahead.
I'm just saying I miss it. It's hard waking up on a Saturday and not having any soccer. And, I'm missing it for sure. But it makes you, it's tough.
It is. It makes you appreciate, your job when you're able to do it and feel the grass underneath your feet. And I know it's just as hard as everybody else that's out there, and a lot of people listening in that. These are times that are, unprecedented, and, everybody wants to get out and do what they need to do outdoors. And, whether it's train, whether it's go see games, whether it's work in the yard, whatever, and we're all kind of in the same boat. And, hopefully we can all pull together and get through it all.
I think we're good. Yeah. I think we'll be fine, man. Just got to hang in there.
Yeah. So, I'm glad you're on. Wanted to get you on here for a while, and, obviously you've had a very, very interesting career, as a player, as a coach. And I know I wanted to kind of start it off with a question. You were, one of the trendsetters, in our position, for American goalkeepers. And you went over and were the first American to sign in Europe, and I'm kind of curious, what kind of motivated you at such a young age to say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to try my shot in Europe, and kind of what was that pathway like? What was that mentality of yours to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna give it a whirl?
I mean, it was just a different time back then. We didn't have the MLS. We didn't have really a pro league to go anywhere past college. And when I was 12 years old. I went with my team from Las Vegas to a European trip, and once I did that at 12, I just fell in love with not only the soccer there, but also just Europe in general. And it was always a dream, but it really solidified it at age 12. And then all of a sudden, when I turned 16, I had a chance to do a goalkeeper camp with a guy named Tony Schumacher. For you youngins, you might not know him, but one of the best goalkeepers in the world at the time. And, I went there, did about a week-long camp, and at the end of the camp, he pulled me aside, and this guy was like my hero. He basically said, what's your plans with soccer? I was like, well, I want to play professional. And he goes, well, you should go over now. You're good enough. And I was like, wait, my hero just said I'm good enough? You know what I mean? So I called my mom from Alabama, where the camp was, and I said, Mom, Tony just said, Tony, we're on first name basis at that point. He said, I'm good enough. I need to go to Europe. And, as hard as it was for my parents, who to this day are my best friends, they were like, "Look, let's see what we can do." So we called up the family that I stayed with in Belgium when I went there when I was 12, and then we asked if I could stay there until I try out and find some teams. So I went there, knocked on some doors, and the second door I knocked on was FC Bruges, the biggest team in Belgium at the time. They saw me for an hour and they said, "Hey, we'll give it a shot. We'll give you a year contract as the 16 and under keeper." But I was the third keeper of the 16 and under, so really there wasn't even a glimmer of hope to even play at that time. It was more just seeing me in training and make an evaluation from there, and just worked my butt off for a season. And at the end of that season, I was invited to this under 23 tournament, and the only reason I was invited was due to some injuries, a couple keepers being sick that were above me. So I went straight from this third keeper of the 16s to this under 23 tournament in France with, Olympic Marseille, PSG, Glasgow Rangers, Monaco. I mean, all the really, really top teams, Bayern Munich. And so we played in that tournament, and I had a good weekend, put it that way. And they saw what I could do in a big game, and I came home, and about a month later, they signed me to a pro contract at 17. And I became the third keeper of FC Bruges at 17. So it was kind of a interesting path, and it was a difficult one, but it was amazing to say the least.
Yeah. And the cool part about that, I think a lot of people really need to realize is, there's a little bit of luck that goes into this too. As you just kind of mentioned, you alluded to, you obviously need to be very, very good at what you do, but you need a little bit of that, somebody that gives you an opportunity, opens the door for you, and then, but a lot of that is, that opportunity just, could be by chance, or you're at the right place at the right time. And, like you said with Tony, that's awesome. And by the way, I mean, he's one of my all-time favorites, him and Neville Southall.
He's a legend.
Neville Southall and Tony Schumacher, both my two all-time favorite goalkeepers.
Yeah, I used to watch Neville all the time, and that guy was how do you even explain him? He was just such a pioneer, and I mean, shot stopping was ridiculous. The way he trained, and it was amazing,
Yeah, and I think I was about 20 years old, right around there. Went over on trial with a team called Torquay United.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. I played there a couple times.
Small little third division club, but a great little ground.
Great place.
And I walked into the locker room, and Neville Southall was in the locker room. Wow. And I was like, I mean, you talk about your jaw kind of dropping, and there I am, face to face, with one of my boyhood idols. I was just like, so I had the opportunity for about a week to train with him, and it was an awesome experience. At the tail end of his career, I think he was probably about 40, early 40, something like that.
Sure.
Man, I was just soaking it up, and of course, you're scared to talk to him, you're like afraid, to step on his toes, to say the wrong things. And, obviously he had done his famous, his sit down when he was at Everton, that was in his past. And then there was a book about it, the whole 9 yards. And
I remember
that. I had a book, somebody gave me a book, and I didn't have the guts to ask him to sign it, and I was just like, I was so scared. I'm like, but now I look back on it. I mean, I should have said, would you sign this for me? But man, what a pro.
Most players I've met are pretty. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and as luck would have it, a buddy of mine that I formerly played with just sent us a note here. Played with Big Nev at Everton. Great goalkeeper, Matt Hatter. That's my buddy Terry Phelan, who you probably would have played with or played against probably. And you remember
I played against him. I think when he was at Coventry, I think I played against him.
Yeah,
great guy. Yeah,
speedy little left back. So
I was scared of him, man.
Good.
I didn't want to tell him that, but I was always scared of him. Yeah.
Well, he always wanted me to run warm-ups with him when we played together at Charleston Battery. He's like, let's go for a warm-up run. And I did it for like the first couple of days, and I'm like, what am I doing? This guy just runs and runs. He's like the
man in the world. He's the fittest man in the world.
Yeah, I used to tell my kids that he eats bricks.
Oh, God. I believe it. Yeah.
So,
I believe it.
Good fella. So, but, in your experience, for anybody that's out there, what were some of the big hurdles, when you had to go over there? Obviously, kind of getting in the door, that kind of thing. But what were some of the things that, as a young kid, trying to learn how to be a pro? What were some of those things that was kind of that learning process for you? You had to, kind of say, okay, if I'm going to make it, I have to do X, Y, or Z. What were kind of those things you noticed, pretty early on?
Well, I think the biggest hurdle was just being American at the time. We didn't have. I went over 1986. I think Keller went soon after, and Friedel went a little bit later. A couple others went, but I can't remember. I think I know I was the first one to go over and sign pro in Belgium. So when I get over there, there's no history of American goalkeepers, doing really well, like, the Friedels and the Kellers and the Tim Howards and that. So they basically told me, what the hell are you doing here? And it's like, go home, play basketball, play football, whatever. This is our sport. So I couldn't be just as good. They would just oversee me. So I had to be better. So, you're overcoming all these obstacles, from players having a bias to, over criticizing and all that. So, it was tough. And you got to remember, I'm at 16. I'm on my own in Europe. I'm finishing school over in Europe. I'm, during the week, I'm in a dorm in my school doing my schoolwork, going to training at night, doing my homework when I get back from training. I'm driving a bike. You got to be, I signed pro at 17, but I still had to drive a bike because you got to be 18 to drive. It was pretty funny. So I'm driving to practice, pouring rain, freezing cold, and, I'm driving in this little Mary Poppins bike with like a bell on it and a basket. And people are driving up in Mercedes, BMWs, and Porsches, for training.
Yeah.
And here's me, rolling up, trying to just impress everybody. And it's like, so it was really difficult. I mean, I had moments where players during training literally would just say, what the hell are you doing here? Go home.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily they didn't believe in me, but they're very it's so competitive that training is a game. And if you let in a soft goal, it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or a seasoned veteran, they're going to let you know. And I had to get used to players literally cussing me out, talking about my mom, I should fly home on the next flight. And then right after training, they're like, hey, do you want to go shoot some pool and, grab a beer or something? You know what I mean? So it's a different mentality, and it's something that you have to get used to. But once I did, you become thick-skinned, and you understand, your goal is bigger than anyone's criticism or belief. And my own belief system superseded anything anybody could have ever said, and that's what I try to instill in all my clients too, is, when you have a strong belief system of yourself, you can become invincible. And some of the things that I've done, I feel, they weren't easy. But in the long picture, the bigger picture, it was so worth it to have done all the things that I've done. I always say I'm just one of the luckiest humans on the planet to have achieved what I've achieved, and my goal at 16 was to go to Europe and play, one professional game. And that would have been a dream come true. I mean, I played over 300 games, played for the U.S. national team. I played in the Barcelona Olympics in '92, played in the Premier League, so really, I mean, I achieved a lot, and I'm proud of it. And it was a lot of hard work and never giving up, and, really never taking no for an answer.
Yeah. And all the things that you're saying, a lot of those behind the scenes stuff that the hard work and the people, saying all the crazy things to you, asking why you're here, that's the stuff that you never really see,
Yeah.
And I look at it as, and I've mentioned to a lot of kids that I've worked with is, I love Sports Center,
Yeah.
but I hate Sports Center.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those, what do you see in Sports Center? All you ever see is the highlights. You see the highlight, the big tops corner save, or
Sure.
the last second three-pointer or whatever. But you never really see what it takes to get to that highlight. Yeah. How many repetitions, you probably took, or how much abuse you probably took, through the course of the week, or, how many times, center forwards would pull and just be bombing balls on you left and right, and until it's constantly you're getting up and getting down, getting up, getting down. You're exhausted, and especially if you're a 2 or a 3.
Yeah.
If you're the number 2 or number 3, you're constantly getting beat up.
It's funny you say that because my tryout for West Ham was one of those moments, and that's the reason they did sign me, was they saw how mentally tough I was. So what it was is I flew in from Los Angeles to London, and Harry Redknapp picked me up in his car, which I thought was, I guess I was important because the head coach picked me up in his car. Usually that doesn't happen. So I was like, okay, I'm on a good little roll here. And the thought process from my end was, okay, I just flew in. I'm just totally jet lagged. I can't even, I'm too big to sleep on a plane. I mean, my neck just, kind of goes over the head of the seat too, so I can't even sleep. And I thought, get to my hotel, get cuddled, settled in. And the next day or the following day, we'd get out and they would see what I can do. So he picks me up, and it's pouring rain. The traffic's terrible, so it's another hour and a half in the car. And he goes, hey, I want to show you the training ground, Chadwell Heath. I'm like, oh, cool, that's all right. I'm still thinking I'm not even going to get my shoes on. So we get there. He shows me the training ground, and he goes, all right, son, get your boots on, And I was like, okay, all right, let's do this. And I just had to switch my brain. I was like, man, I do not want to. I'm thinking this is tough. But I get out on the field, pouring rain. They got this area that's kind of a mud pit, and it's where the keepers work. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like training on sand, where you go to push off and the ground moves. You can barely get up, And so he goes, all right, let's get in goal. So the drill was take a cross from the left, throw it all the way out to the right to another player, okay? Shot. And there's 3 players top of the 18 hit shots on you. Then take the cross from the other side that you threw it to, catch it, throw it back to the first part, throw it across. So it's going cross from the left, throw it right, shot, cross from the right, shot, so on. Excuse me. So we're doing this, and after like the first, I go to take the first shot, I save it, I'm thinking, all right, I'm flying. I barely get up, and the next person's taking a shot. The people shooting, by the way, are Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, all the West Ham legend, Michael Carrick. They're there because at that time they were just coming through, and they're like pushing first team. So I'm there. So I save the first shot. Second one comes. I barely have time to get up. A small part of me wanted to say, could you give me a little more time to get up and get set? And I went, immediately something clicked in me, and luckily it did. I go, no, I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to conquer whatever they throw at me. Whatever they throw at me, I'm just going to do it, and I'm not going to stop. So we're doing this. I save maybe one of, the first one, but then the next 2 go in because they're not giving me time. I go to catch the cross, and I get a coach yelling at me, catch it higher. I could barely jump because it's mud. I'm trying to catch it higher and throw it hard. He said, throw it harder. He's just trying to, physically demanding. And about every 5 minutes, they're like, do you want to stop? Do you want to rest? I was like, no, let's keep going. And I'm like crawling. You know how hard it is physically. I'm barely, So we keep doing this, and we end up doing this for a while. The only time we really stopped was to get the balls. And then it was like, boom, straight in. They're like, you want another minute? I'm like, nope, let's go. Let's do it. Let's keep going. So finally, Redknapp's there, and all the coaches are just watching. Redknapp's there, and he goes, all right, we're good. Let's stop, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I got to go to a meeting. So I go, I collapse, and I shower up. Harry Redknapp calls me into his office, and he's like, hands me like a 3-year contract. I'm like, okay. He goes, listen, every keeper that comes in, he goes, this is what we do. We do this session, and he goes, the previous record in terms of minutes was 19 minutes. He goes, you went for 43 minutes. He goes, at 20 minutes, we signed you. He goes, but we all just sat there in amazement and were blown away at your he goes, we've already seen you can play. We know you can play. That's not the question. We wanted to see how mentally tough you were. You know what I mean? So that's where it was. And luckily, I made that decision after that first round to just switch my mind to, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to break. I'm not going to give up, and I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, luckily it was pouring rain and it was only like 10 degrees outside. Otherwise, if it was 100 degrees, I might have passed out and fainted. But, that was one of the toughest, most rewarding moments of my life.
Yeah, and that's the intangibles. That's the intangibles that often separates, as you well know, the good goalkeepers and the great goalkeepers. That intangible. You know what? I'm not going to let anything bother me. I'm just going to keep on going. Or personality as well is another big one. And you've been in the pro game. Probably longer than I have. And that's often the case. You get a couple goalkeepers you're looking at, and then it gets down to, okay, they can all save the ball, they can all catch the ball, they can all kick the ball. What are those other intangibles? What are they like as a person, as a human being? 100%. Are they that person that's going to, fight and scrap for everything they've got on a day-to-day basis, or are they the ones that are going to wilter away, or are they going to be a little bit, softer or whatever? Are they a humble person? For me, that's a trait that I'm looking for all my goalkeepers. Are they humble?
Yeah. 100%. And this is a thing you see in the top teams in the world. You look at some of the teams like the Man Uniteds right now. Why are they struggling? And I feel a lot of them are soft.
Yeah.
You look at the Man U of old with the Beckham and Roy Keane and those guys. Man, you have to bring it. And I feel now you have players that are skilled, sometimes even more skilled than the past Man United team. But if they're 1-0 down and have to grind it out,
right,
they struggle because mentally a lot of players are now weaker. They don't know how to overcome those obstacles. You know what I mean? And I feel that that's something that needs to be taught, incorporated into training, incorporated into life. We got to be a little bit mentally tougher.
Yep. Well, and my first thought when you're talking about that and going back to your story is, look at the facilities that you explained there. And I kind of experienced that when the first time when I went on trial with a team in Ireland, and the facilities. We get spoiled here in this country. Especially in this day and age. The plush grass and everything is just pristine, and you have visions of in a pro environment. Everything is going to be, magical, and it's not always like that, and are you going to be able to persevere when all of a sudden you've got a muddy pitch, 3 inches of mud, and you can't move, and you can't hold the ball, you're literally trying to catch like a greased pig, and that's what it's like, and you go into some of these environments, and it's wet, and it's slick, and it's muddy. Oh man, it's...
and they're playing with a brand new ball every game, which has that shiny coat, which... I mean, the second you add water to it, it's a bar of soap.
Yep.
And then you'll hear, like, people going, oh, you should have held that. I'm like, dude, have you caught a bar of soap in front of 60,000 people before?
That's right.
That's see a bar of soap come at you at, like, 80 miles an hour. Like, okay, chill out, buddy.
Yeah. That's I used to joke about. I'm like, the worst invention, in my opinion, for the goalkeeper is short sleeve jerseys. I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's nice when you're in a nice plush environment all the time.
Yeah.
What happens when you're on a really bad surface? Are you going to still wear that short sleeve jersey? I know I wasn't. I wanted to be long sleeves, long pants, whatever I needed to preserve my body.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Yeah,
different world. It's a
different world, man.
There's a couple questions in here for you. There's one from Sundon Park Rangers FC. What was Ian's first thoughts when he arrived at Luton? So back in the Luton Town days for you.
Yeah. One more amazing. So my debut for Luton was at Millwall. Funny enough, against Casey Keller when he was at Millwall. And for those that don't know, Millwall is it's a very hostile place. I think I'd be better off in Baghdad. I think, you know what I mean? It's hostile. I mean, it's yeah. So you go there, one, you're going into Millwall. Two, you're an American, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm getting all kinds of stuff. And I remember, so I was playing for West Ham, and I went on loan to Luton. And funny enough, my friend, one of my friends was at the game, and he stood with all the Luton fans. And it was such a last-minute thing. It was like, I think we played on a Tuesday night, and I got signed, I think, Monday. So I didn't even know the players' names or nothing. And I remember I ran out to warm up, and all the Luton fans around my buddy, who didn't know it was my buddy, they go like, "Who the is this?" You're like, "Who's this guy?" You know what I mean? Like they kind of, some guy goes, "Ah, it's some, you know, bad word, West Ham bloke." You know what I mean? Because they all hate each other. Anyways, so long story short, I played, had a really good game. Not to sound whatever, I've had bad games too, but this one was a really good game. And I think right away they were like, "Oh, okay, there's something here." So my first home game, so the following week, because I went on loan for 3 months there. Then my next game was at home against Sunderland, and I saved a penalty kick. We win. I think we won 2-1, but I saved a penalty kick, had a couple good saves. So there was this love developing right away with the fans, and to this day, there's a love that I mean, it's pretty insane, and it's such a great club because it's a smaller stadium, but it's right on top of you. And I'm not joking. It's one of the louder stadiums in the whole of England. The fans are fanatical. They're demanding. They'll let you know when you do well, when you don't do well. If you have passion, they love you. They're very blue collar, just hardworking, great fans. To this day, you know, and to be fair, West Ham is very similar. I mean, it's the fans are very, very loyal from both the teams I played for. I was fortunate enough to have very loyal, very just, you know, if you have passion, they love you. And fortunately, I have a lot of passion when I play. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't hold back. I will entertain the fans. I will talk back and forth with the fans, home and away. And it inspired me. So nothing but amazement for Luton Town. And, you know, obviously West Ham too. Yeah. But for Luton Town that we're on it, it's amazing. If anybody ever gets a chance to go see a game, go see one at Luton, and you will know what I'm talking about. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you said there, I mean, definitely triggers some things with me, was having fun with the fans, you know, and enjoying your time and and not only your fans, but the opposing team fans. I mean, I remember my debut. I played indoor, so I came in out of the college game and then got drafted and played in the indoor league back in it was the NPSL at the time, and in the indoor, it was in the Baltimore Arena, and
legends.
I remember getting absolutely abused by the guy, literally in the first row, right behind the goal. And in indoors, I mean, you're talking. If I'm standing on the goal line, the guy's like 3 or 4 feet from me, so it's like he's breathing. I can hear him breathing. And this guy absolutely was killing me for everything. You rookie, this, you know, And finally, at the end of the first quarter, you know, you change ends. And I'm like, thank God, I get away from this guy for 2 minutes, you know. And so you go, you have our little kind of in between quarter little talk. We go to the opposite end. And I'm about halfway from my jog from our bench to the goal. And all of a sudden I hear this, "That's right, rookie. I've got season tickets at both ends." And it was at that moment, I literally just kind of tucked my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." And I looked at him and I laughed and I grinned. And I was like, "Hey, what else can I do?" And the guy started laughing. I started laughing. And he never said another word the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But it was like, as soon as I acknowledged him, you know, I acknowledged that he was there. If I wouldn't have, he would have probably just kept on giving me abuse. And then we just, had this kind of little banter for the next, you know, rest of the game. It was fun.
It helps. To go along with that story, I mean, again, Luton. I mean, the first row of fans, I mean, they can spit on you, and sometimes they even try to. So I played a game at Norwich, and I go to warm up, and it's not crowded yet because it's like early warm up. I go out a bit early, anyways. And there's like a few people, and there's this first row right behind my goal is a dad with his 10-year-old son, probably around 10-year-old son. And they're from Norwich because behind both goals at Norwich is their fans. Our fans had to go in the top left corner. So, anyways, this kid, I run out and I see him. He just beelines right, you know, and he's like, "Oh, you Yankee!" And he just every cuss word you can imagine, C word, F word, A word, you know. And I'm jogging back and forth. And I'm kind of like just cheekily smiling, and I'll wink at him once in a while. But I'm also looking at the dad, and the dad's just sitting there like just, yep, that's my boy. Like not correcting him. He's cussing. And this kid for the whole warm-up just hammered me. Yeah, he must have Googled or something if they had it back then. I don't know. And he knew everything about me. But finally, I would do my warm-up. I take my gloves off. I hand them to him. I go, here you go, son. It's like, oh, thank you. So it's all just, it's part of the culture. They don't really mean it. Once you realize that, it's all good. Because if you have a laugh with them, it's fun, So.
Yeah, it is. And those are the moments that, that I look back that I cherish the most as a player.
Yeah.
Is those interactions and that's the stuff that kind of sticks with you.
Yeah. Yeah. But one time I took it a little too far, and I almost got in trouble. But yeah, I was playing a game at for Luton at Watford, which is like, if you look up the history of rivals, it's up there, because they actually had a moment one time where people back in the day when the hooliganism was rife and bad, there was a moment where it got really bad. But every game that we play against Watford, there's riots outside, there's fighting, there's things thrown. I mean, yeah. So anyways, I save a penalty kick at Watford in front of their big stand, like it's like maybe a 15,000 seater stand right behind the goal. That's where all their fanaticals go. So they get a really bad penalty kick call, and I save it. I'm all hyped, and I turn to him and I give it the old, I can't hear you singing anymore. I'm like, you're not singing anymore. And I just saw 17 Coke bottles thrown at me. I'd coin, the pound coin, which weighs about a pound.
Yeah.
Those are getting thrown at me. And my cheeky person said, someone threw a Coke can, missed me by about a yard. And I pick it up, I open it, I take a sip, and I cheers them. And then they went nuts. Two guys ran over the boards, ran onto the field. The ref had to stop the game.
Yeah.
I had the English FA contact me, finding me. I got a fine. But it was worth it. It was definitely worth it to see the reaction. But I probably took it a little too far. I don't recommend that to anyone.
That's one of the days you're like, note to self, okay, that was nice, but don't do that again.
Yeah. Somewhere it's on video. I got to find it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, change gears here a little bit on from a coaching side. Obviously, you and I battled against each other when you were at LA with Galaxy and I was in New York, and obviously you spent some time with the national team program on the men and the women's side. But I'm curious, from your days with the national team, who was maybe a goalkeeper that you kind of look back on that you maybe worked with the national team? You're like, you know what, I think I really got through to that player. I made an impact in a certain way to this goalkeeper. Is there one that kind of sticks out at all that you work with during those times with the men or women?
Well, I worked with Hope Solo, and I think when I had her right when the Brianna Scurry Hope Solo transfer happened, So it was one of the first camps with Hope where Brianna just retired. She was a legend, did amazing, and now we had to find, our next kind of legend, And so, Greg Ryan was the coach. I had Hope. I had Kristen Luckenbill, Branham, a couple others. I had a few others. And he just basically says, give me a 1, 2, and a 3, And going back to what you said, technically some of them were better at the time than Hope, But just Hope had something about her, a spark, a fire, a desire, all that, and so we went with that. And we went with Hope. And from that on, obviously she's Hope Solo. But she did have a lot of mental things that we had to work through and break through, and family issues and things and this and that. So I think I had a major impact on her. She actually wrote about me in her book, which was nice, about how, about my goalkeeping coaching ability and, my knowledge and all that. So I think I had a pretty big impact on her. On the men's side, I would say, the Galaxy keepers that I've worked with, from Ricketts to Josh Saunders, Brian Rowe, Brian Perk, all those, I've had a lot of influence on them. I think Josh Saunders and I had a really good rapport. I helped him through a couple of things that he went through in life, and got him through that and helped him through that, and he helped me through some stuff too. So it was very nice. We have a really good friendship to this day. And I think just each keeper I come across, that's my goal, is to have some long-lasting positive effect on them, where it might not even be just technical that it's something I said, like, you can do it. I mean, from keepers that I coach that are age 8 all the way through to pro, I think half the battle is you can do it. You got to just get out and do it. It's as simple as that. I know it sounds cliche, but if you really want to do it, you can get down to it and just keep grinding. And for me, the path that I took to do what I did, there's not many stories that you could tell me where I'm going to go like, oh, I feel sorry for you. Because the stuff I went through, I mean, it was tough. I mean, a lot of people would have quit. A lot of people would have given up, So when someone tells me a story of, oh, they told me I'm not good enough, I'm like, all right, well, I got told that by plenty, So, you keep going. It doesn't matter what they say. So I think everybody, I'd like to say, not sounding arrogant, but I think everybody that I've come across, I like to make sure I leave an impact on a positive note.
Yeah. Well, I can vouch that I think you definitely did in your years in LA, with Ricketts and Josh Saunders, because every time we always played against you, man, it's like every time we played, it's, Ricketts is playing out of his mind, or Josh Saunders is playing out of his mind, and
those were good. Yeah. They were.
So especially Josh Saunders, they were good people, and always willing to come up to you and talk to you after the game and have a chat. And to me, that was just that personable side was always really critical for me. That I always appreciated that, and it didn't matter if it was any of your goalkeepers that you had. They would always come up and say hello, ask how you're doing, not just a quick fly by the night handshake, which I always appreciated.
Well, being humble is something that manners and being humble. That's number one. And I've had to set a couple keepers straight, including at LA Galaxy, for not having that. And if I saw something, I'd remind them, like, how lucky you are to be in this, to wear this shirt, this Galaxy shirt, and to wear this national team shirt. So when someone comes up, you respect it, and you give them the time. Because that's what makes it, really.
Yep.
That's what makes it. The fans are what's white. If we don't have the fans, we're going to be struggling.
Yeah. So, no, I agree. And one of the players that was there, I remember, seeing him stand for hours, it seemed, signing autographs after games.
Yep.
David Beckham, when we would go to preseason, I remember him literally, your game, it seemed, signing autographs after games.
Yep.
David Beckham, when we would go to preseason, I remember him literally, your game ended. We played right after. This is a preseason game in Tucson. And at halftime of our game, he's still signing autographs. And I was blown away by it, but that's, in my opinion, that's what it's all about.
100%. And
that's taking the time to acknowledge the fans and interact and sign an autograph, take a photo or whatever. He just, for me, he epitomizes what a professional athlete should be.
100%. He was the most, we took tours. We did a tour of Asia and Australia, and he just had all the time in the world for all his fans. It was like having, he was so popular in Asia. It was like having Jesus on the bus. It was like people passing out, people pushing people,
we would arrive at the airport and people be tripping, falling, camera people be like tripping over, breaking cameras, everything. And yet he just took it all in stride. He had time for all the autographs. He would always be the last guy on the bus. He would take the fine, you know, if he had to. He doesn't care. But it just showed. And then I see, like, you know, a pro athlete making millions and asking $10 for an autograph. I go, it just makes you sick, you know, and there's not many of them. Most of them are just legit and great. But when you have someone like that, you just go like, if David Beckham can do this, man, this can't be hard for you. You know what I mean? I mean, so nothing but respect for that guy. And what he did for the league, people, you know, I know, because we were in it during, and you know what he did for the league.
Yeah.
Okay. Not just for LA Galaxy. Forget that. He did great. I get that. But what he did for the league is he catapulted it to what it is today.
Yep.
Period. No matter what you say. And,
I agree.
you know, I remember we'd go, you know, if we went to play in a certain stadium, we'd have to announce if he's playing or not. If he was playing, you know, and it was a football stadium, we'd have 60,000 people. If he wasn't playing, maybe we'd have 30. I mean, he doubled every single stadium. And, you know, the buzz around him, he steps on the field. It was amazing.
Yeah. And it was always a spectacle when we would play, because obviously with Thierry, you know, we had Thierry Henry. It was Thierry versus David, and it was LA versus New York, you know, and it was a spectacle every time we came. And it was, you know, a little bit of a media circus for 90 minutes. But it was fun, and Thierry, to be a part of that.
And Thierry was similar. It was great. And Thierry was similar. I mean, I had a small spell at Arsenal in 2003 when Thierry was there, 2003, 2004. Man, what a humble man. You know, I remember my first day at Arsenal. You know, I was at West Ham before, and I'm like, okay, but this was the 2003 Arsenal. Henry, all these, you know, David Seaman was the keeper. They're looking for a backup for him. So I come in and, you know, just checking it out. I got there real early, and, you know, and I'm in the locker room. He comes in, and there's, you know, by this time, I think there's about 20 players in the locker room, and he high-fives everybody, and he finally gets to me. He looks up, and he's like, hey, who are you? He goes, what? He goes, oh, wait, you're the West Ham. Okay, oh, hey, what's up? High five. Like, he didn't have to do that. Yeah. You know? Yeah. He made me feel at home. He's like, hey, you need anything? You know, it's over here, training room, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, you know, it's all good. You know, Arson already walked me through it, you know. But what a humble man. And for that guy as well, every day after practice, we would walk towards our locker room to go get showered and that. He would just do two-touch passing against the wall for about 5 minutes. And then he would walk in every single day. Yeah. So I'm like, that just transfers to the young players and goes, look, here's one of the best players in the world doing this every single day. And that's how you do it, you know. You always have a mark to leave, a positive or a negative. It's up to you what you want to, you know, which you want to choose.
Well, and he didn't do that just in the Premier League either. I mean, when I was in New York at Red Bull, I mean, he was that way. I mean, he was probably the most competitive athlete I've ever been around. I mean, he didn't want to lose. It didn't matter if it was a 5v5 game, if it was a game of tennis, it was a game of tiddlywinks. Yep. He was going to beat you. And if you beat him, all right, we're going again. Well, I want to play again.
We're going again.
he would refuse to lose, you know, and the amount of time, you know, the amount of times like after training, like he would look at me and go, hey, knock some balls to me. And he would get a 5x5 grid, and sometimes he was even a little bit smaller, and he put it at the top of the D. And he would, I mean, my leg would be falling off. He'd be like, just ping it. He's like, I don't care where you just hit it hard. You know, and I'd be pinging balls on the floor, at his chest, whatever. And it was just one touch, smack, on goal. Yep. You know, and again, he was at the end of his career.
Players.
Yeah.
Those are those special players.
He couldn't get enough. Couldn't get enough. You know,
the guy. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, he would keep going until he was just so tired, or he got whether it was a number in his head that he wanted to get, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clean, whatever it was. Yeah. He would go until he got to that, and then he'd be like, okay, I'm done. And then he'd go in.
I got a similar story from another legend, Paulo Di Canio. Remember him?
Yep, remember him.
Do you remember that goal he scored against Wimbledon, the little kind of bicycle kicks, front side volley kick? You ever see that one?
I probably have. I can't remember off the
You
top of
would
my head.
remember it if you did. It got goal of the season.
Okay.
Okay. All it was is it was he just did like instead of just shooting a volley out of the air, he did like not a bicycle kick over his back, but a forward bicycle. Like it wasn't even a bicycle kick. It was just a hop kind of little thing. When you look it up, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you just look up Paulo Di Canio, best goal ever, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So the week before we're playing against Wimbledon on Saturday, it's like Monday. After practice, he's like, Ian, get in goal. I get in goal. Assistant coach, he's just crossing to him, and he's doing this kick. So it's like he kind of like jumps up and does boom, boom, and he kicks this thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. He could just volley it. You know what I mean? In his mind, he had something. He had something going on because every day I had to go for about 20 minutes. And I'm not joking. He would hit 15 over. One would go on target. I'd save it. One would go top corner. He'd score. Then the next day, it's like Wednesday by now. We're playing a small-sided game. Cross comes in. He could run onto it, head it. He stalls, does his little kick, goes 15 yards over the bar. Redknapp's looking at me going, what the hell's he doing? Anyways, long story short, we go into Saturday. We're playing. Trevor Sinclair on the right gets it. He opens up, and he just pings this. I don't know what's better, the goal or the cross, because it's on a dime in front to the far post, just inside the 18, in front of the run of Di Canio, who's on his own. Di Canio jumps up, boom, top corner, scores. It was like this goal went in slow motion,
Yeah.
He scores it, and he turns to celebrate. And it was just like this epiphany he had on Monday came true on Saturday and was like the game-winning goal. The worst part of the whole thing is the camera cuts to show the replay before he goes to jump in my arms because I was the guy in goal the whole week. I was like, damn it. I wish I could have got some credit for it because it's down as like one of the best goals in West Ham's history. Yeah. And not many people know the history of that goal. But I was like, yeah, I was, I was staying after about a half hour every day for that. And I was like, all right, it was worth it. But yeah, those players are special.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about being around players like that, that are at that high level, and I remember, being at Red Bull, with Rafa Marquez and Tim Cahill and Thierry and
you guys have some players.
We had some players, as you guys did as well. And somebody like, hey, that was incredible what so and so did during the game, and I'd have to literally be like, I don't remember it because it's not such a special thing to you because you're seeing it almost every day in training. You see them do it, and it almost becomes natural because they're doing special things every day at training that you're seeing and you're a part of, and it almost becomes like, well, that's just what they do, and then until you see it back on a replay, and then you're like, oh wow, that was pretty special. That was pretty incredible.
But let me ask you this, and there's a question back to you. Doesn't that help you as a coach? Because when you see that every day, you can prepare your keepers for something special. So I remember at Galaxy sometimes I'll be going, you got to be a yard further back here. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah, because good players will do this. They'll chip you. They'll do something. Or you got to be a yard further, whatever. So it actually teaches you as a coach because you're going, look, we're not preparing you for mediocrity. We're preparing you for the Velas, the Henrys, the Davids, the Robbie Keanes, the Landon Donovans. Those guys can do special, and that's what you have to be prepared for. If you're ready for that, you're ready for anything below it. Yep. And I think that's the difference is, the stuff I saw, and I'm just, God, I was only at Arsenal for 3 months. I mean, the speed of play, just everything. It was ridiculous, and the West Ham team I was in, that was Di Canio, Michael Carrick, Joe Cole, Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, God, just to name a few. It was insane. I mean, every play. Joe Cole was so quick with his feet. He'd come one-on-one with you, and that's where I learned just to stand up and do nothing. Because he would fake, and you'd be falling over, and he'd walk past you, dribbling the ball, laughing, and training, going, 1-0. And then he'd do it again. And finally just go, I'm just going to stand up. I'm not going to move. And all of a sudden he shot into me. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not moving. You might go around, but I'm not moving, man. So you learn you learn so much from those players, man. You know.
You do, and that's kind of the fun part, And I think it's also that you get young goalkeepers, and it proves points to them, And like,
Yeah.
for example, I know you and I are on the same wavelength about holding balls, And it's like, okay, make sure you're holding them, because the higher levels you go, if all of a sudden you're fumbling balls, there's probably going to be somebody there that's very, very quick. It's going to be pouncing on it. Or two, that ball, maybe you're tipping over the bar that you could have caught, or you're putting around the post that you could have caught.
Yep.
Now you got special players that are now whipping in a corner, and big, strong center backs, in the Premier League. I mean, they're 6'6", 6'7", and monsters, and they're going to punish you pretty quickly if you're not ready and prepared to deal with a certain situation, whether it's holding the ball or whatever.
Yep. My coach used to tell me, like, if in training, if I gave up a soft corner, and it could be just you shooting on me and there's no other, there's no real corner happening. He'd always remind me, go corner kick, goal, your fault.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, okay, better hold on to it.
Yep. You learn quick.
So true.
You're forced to learn. You're forced to learn.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've got about 10 minutes, and then this kicks off on us. It kicks off on the hour, but I definitely wanted, this is something I wanted to ask you for a little while. I don't know if a lot of people out there know it, but I'm a big movie buff. I'm a massive movie buff. You know where I'm going with this. But how the hell did you become the Predator?
Oh, man.
And it was in what? Alien versus Predator? I think you played the Predator.
Yeah, Alien versus Predator. I was a Predator. Yeah, it's who you know, man. It's who you know and being 6'7". So I coached the goalkeeper for a local club team. His dad, no, not his dad. The goalkeeper on this guy's team that invited me to be the Predator, his son played for the team. The goalkeeper I coached was on this son's team. Anyways, so one day this guy walks up or calls me, got my number via, and he's like, "Hey, this is Mike from, the soccer club." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool." He starts talking. He's like, "Have you seen Predator?" I was like, "Yeah, Schwarzenegger." Yeah. He's like, "Yes, yeah." He goes, would you like to be the Predator in the next movie? And I'm like, who are you? What do you do? It ends up, he's like the producer, whatever. He's high up at the studio. He goes, "Look, you just got to try on the suit at the place. If it fits and you're comfortable and you can move around and do a somersault, whatever," he goes, "it's yours." So I go, I put the suit on. They're like, "Dude, it's perfect." And being a goalkeeper, I could dive on anything, roll, whatever I need to do. Yeah. So they're like, "Do." And that was it. All of a sudden, I go up. I got about a 3-week shoot. I get in the suit every day and I do the shoot. And it was just like, wow, okay, that just happened, So it was fun. It was very mentally tough. And I think that's why he asked me, is they know, they usually get athletes or someone that, because you have to sit in awkward poses. You're in pain. You're in, because the helmet was 40 pounds and it had this metal grid on it and hurt your head. And there was a lot of stuff you had to overcome. But it was to just say you were the Predator. It's such a convo starter everywhere you go. You know what I mean?
Did you get to keep the head?
So I got one upstairs. Yeah. So if anybody gets in the house, I'll put it on, and any thieves come in or robbers. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, I'll have to rewatch.
what was really cool, if you look up on YouTube, we did a little quick commercial for the DVD release. And what's really ironic is the alien that played the alien was in the original Alien. He's famous. His name's Tom Woodruff. He's done all the aliens. He's amazing. He gets in the suit and So when I did Predator, he was teaching me how the Predator moves. It's very bold and upright and strong and blah, blah, blah. And the alien's more creepy and, So he's teaching me. And then all of a sudden we do a DVD release, and the director calls me, and they always do like a funny spoof, like a comedy skit almost. And the director calls me and he's like, "Hey, we're doing the DVD release. Why don't we do a soccer thing where you're shooting a goal on the, a penalty kick on the alien,
Yeah.
So long story short, I go in. Now the alien's in goal, which you'll see if you look it up. It's just type in Alien versus Predator soccer. It'll come up on YouTube. I don't know what the exact link is. But alien's in goal. I'm shooting on the alien, but now I'm teaching the alien, Tom Woodruff, his legend, how to be a goalkeeper and how they move. You know what I mean? So he's like, oh, cool. So they're like down here and they get the arms out and stuff. So when you see it, it's pretty funny.
I will
It's
have to
pretty
check
cool.
that out. I will definitely check
It is
that
pretty
out.
cool. It was
How
such
difficult?
a good, like, full circle.
How difficult was it striking a ball in that suit? That couldn't have been easy.
Impossible, because they wet the floor, and you have these. I'm almost on 4-inch heels, so I can't get my laces on it. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to hit it, and you can't see.
Oh,
Okay, you can barely see. Like I have about a 1/4-inch little window around the eyes, so I'm trying to hit this, and so I got used to hitting it a certain way, you know, because we kick 1,000 balls a day. We know how to kick a ball. Yeah. And I remember the director, he goes, oh, let's get this 3D effect where the camera's behind the alien. And then, you know, and he's like, so I shoot it just above the camera. And the director's like, oh, that was awesome. Do you think you can really hit the camera? I go, yeah, but the camera's expensive. Like, I can hit it, you know. He's like, yeah, just hit it. And the cameraman's like, no, don't, just above it. I'm like, okay, what is it? Director goes, look, hit it. I'll take care of if it costs anything, I'll pay for it. So next one, dude, I nail it. I hit the front, pieces are flying off everywhere. Cameraman getting angry. Director's pump fisting with his buddies. He go, got it, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it was an experience, to say the least. It was fun.
As long as you didn't see the bill for the camera, you're good.
No, he took care of it. I was good. I was good.
Well,
I was good.
Kind of one last question. We probably got 4
Sure.
or 5 minutes before this kind of kicks off. So I know you and I have talked an awful lot, you know, over the last, you know, years or whatever about the kind of the state of goalkeeping, and what's your kind of take, you know, on the American goalkeeper right now? You know, I just saw, you know, Stefan just got injured, I guess. You know, what do you think the current state is with the American goalkeeper? Where do you think it's going as well? You know, are we in a good spot? Do we need to improve? If so, you know, what are the things maybe we need to improve on?
Oh, man, I hope I don't ruffle too many feathers, but here's what I think. I think we have amazing goalkeepers. But I will say this. When you play in Europe, it's like another, and I'm sure you talk, you know, when I talk to Tim and Friedel and Keller and, you know, even Mike Amon and some of these guys that have played over there, it just teaches you just one more level. And I feel, you know, the teams that win World Cups, when they have that level. We have tons of athletic goalkeepers. We have, you know, I just think one more piece is that mental side. Mm-hmm. And when you play in Europe, it pushes your mental side. And what I mean by that, it goes back to what we talked before. You're not always playing in friendly environments, you know. You're not always playing on a perfect pitch. You're not always playing in perfect weather, you know. I mean, I look here and it's like you're playing in LA, 90% of your games, it's sunny, the ball sticks, you know. It's like, boom, I'm feeling good. 99% of my games over there, pouring rain, pitch a little bit loose, so you go to plant for a goal kick, you're slipping and you're going, you know. So it definitely gives you just one more notch. It's like if you ever watched the movie Spinal Tap, you turn it to 11. You know, I don't know if you ever seen the movie. Those who have will be laughing. Okay, you turn it to 11. That's it. We're there, but we also have to go back to being a complete keeper. I think sometimes we focus so much on distribution, which is good. We forget about crossing. Sometimes we focus so much on, you know, agilities and, you know, all this, you know, exciting, flashy stuff. We forget about catching, you know, and we forget about saving the stuff near us. We forget about, you know, certain things. So we work so much. We get some new topic that we heard of, and that's all we do. No, you got to keep working on everything. And it's the simple things that make greatness. And I think sometimes we think greatness is all about that, you know, top corner, flashy, you know, no, we don't care about those. Save those once in a while, you know, save the stuff around you, be commanding, get your distribution right, catch more than the other keeper. Push yourself in training. I had a time, you know, you got to push yourself in training. I remember in training, I committed to catching more. And all of a sudden in training, I was trying to catch. I gave up a couple rebounds, and some players were like, dude, just push it away. I was like, no. And I kept doing it. And finally I was very confident with catching.